Rain hammered the rooftops of Thalorn as lightning split the sky, a web of living light too wild for any weaver to tame. Inside the Guildhall of Silvershade, apprentices darted between flickering lanterns, carrying spools of shimmering thread and half-woven prisms. At the back of the hall, crouched behind a pillar, Amaris pressed a trembling hand to her chest. Her heart raced, not from fear of being caught, but from what she'd just seen in the oldest tapestry, a pattern in the heart of its radiant threads, a shape pulsing with locked energy. A voice sliced through the noise. "You have sticky fingers for secrets, don't you?" Amaris spun, clutching a half-concealed scrap of parchment. Behind her stood a small fox with sharp amber eyes and fur dusted in silver. Its mouth curled in a grin, almost human. "Don't fret, I'm not here to tell. Name's Corin." "You're talking?" Amaris whispered, her eyes wide. "Keen of you to notice," Corin replied, tail flicking. "Now, unless you want the Iron Guild to get there first, you'd better listen. That pattern you saw isn't just old magic, it's locked and dangerous." A shout from the hall's far side. "Apprentice Amaris, where are you hiding?" "Listen, I don't have time for riddles," she hissed, glancing over her shoulder. Corin darted beneath a rack of unfinished lenses, voice low. "Before the long eclipse, the weavers used a keystone to unlock that pattern. Lost, now, or hidden." A heavy hand fell on Amaris' shoulder. She flinched, but didn't let go of the parchment. "Found you," sneered Master Jordell, head of the rival Sunskine Guild. He leaned in, voice oily. "Playing with relics, are we? Dangerous for a mere apprentice." Something shifted inside Amaris, some spark of stubbornness, unbowed by fear. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I'll surprise you." A moment later, she broke free, diving through the chaos. Corin was at her heels, whispering, "If you want answers before the eclipse, you'll need friends and enemies. Both. Are you ready to gamble, Amaris?" Thunder rattled the stained glass windows, echoing her heart's secret answer. She would gamble everything, even herself. Feet slapping against rain-slick flagstones, Amaris darted through the Guildhall's side door, heart hammering as Corin kept pace. The city beyond was a maze of shadows, market lanterns casting watery patterns on puddled cobblestones. She ducked under an archway, finally slowing when she was sure nobody followed. "Are you always this impulsive?" Corin muttered, shaking droplets from his tail. Amaris pressed her back to the wall, studying the parchment with trembling fingers. The lines formed something uncanny, too precise for chance, too tangled for simple weaving. "If the keystone is lost, how am I supposed to unlock this pattern? I'm not even ranked." The fox's eyes glimmered. "Not everything lost stays hidden. Some secrets want finding. I know where to start, if you trust me." A swell of voices echoed from the street. The Sunskine Guards searching. Amaris' doubt warred with hope, but desperation tipped the scale. "Fine. Lead on." Corin guided her into twisting lanes, speaking low so only she could hear. "There are 4 ancient guilds. Each guards a piece of the keystone's pattern. Silvershade, your own, dreamweavers. Sunskine, crafters of shields and prisons. Iron Guild, builders, fierce but just. And then there's Shadowglass." Amaris' breath caught. Everyone whispered about Shadowglass. "They're ghosts." "Not ghosts," Corin corrected. "Survivors. Their secrets run deepest. If you want to unlock the tapestry, you'll need all 4 pieces, and allies as desperate as you." They reached a silent crossroads cloaked in mist. Across from them, a figure stood in a heavy cloak, face hidden. "Who?" Amaris began, but Corin silenced her with a brush of his tail. The figure stepped forward, voice a low rasp. "You seek what shouldn't be found, child." Amaris steadied herself, raising her chin. Maybe it's time the past was unburied. The figure's eyes glimmered beneath the hood, assessing her. "Then you must be cleverer than the last. The path ahead is woven with peril." Corin's voice was soft in her ear. "This is your first test. Speak true. Why do you seek the keystone?" For the first time, Amaris answered without fear. "Because Thalorn is dying, and I refuse to let it." The stranger paused, then tossed her a twisted fragment of crystal. "Then begin. Find the Iron Guild. Their trials wait." As the mist swallowed the figure, Amaris clutched the crystal, ready or not. Corin grinned, light glinting in his eyes. "Onward, then. The game has truly begun." Dawn bled amber and violet over Thalorn's rooftops as Amaris and Corin slipped into the Iron Quarter. The city's heart pounded here. Forges roared, and the river's steam mixed with the clang of hammers. Amaris felt her uncertainty growing with every step. Corin kept low, tail flicking. Remember, the Iron Guild doesn't smile on outsiders. Trust is heavier than steel here. As they neared the guild's arched gates, Amaris drew her hood tight around her face. She clutched the twisted crystal, letting its warmth seep into her palm like a promise. 2 guards, broad-shouldered and stern, stepped forward. "State your business," barked the first, eyes never wavering. Amaris cleared her throat. I seek Master Kale. I have a message from the Silver Shade." One guard scoffed. "Another apprentice dreaming of glory? Run home." She stood her ground, forcing her voice steady. "Ask Master Kale if he remembers the Lantern Games." The second guard hesitated, then disappeared inside. Corin nudged her ankle. "Clever, but Kale's patience is thin. Watch your words." Moments later, the doors groaned open. An imposing man with silvered braids and soot-streaked arms strode out, his gaze sharp. "You speak of times best forgotten. Why come now, apprentice?" Amaris met his stare, feeling bolder with Corin beside her. "Thalorn is sick. The keystone can heal or doom us. I need your peace," she said, holding out the crystal fragment as proof of her quest. Kale's eyes narrowed. "You're no fool, then. If you want what we guard, you'll earn it. We test strength over words here. Can you shape iron as well as you shape light?" The giant led her into the forge's heart, blazing with heat and choked with smoke. He tossed her a blackened hammer. "Prove yourself. Forge a light shard strong enough to hold its shape until sunset. Fail, and you're out." Heat pressed in, sweat stinging her eyes. Amaris glanced at Corin, who offered a sly, encouraging nod. "Trust yourself. You can do this." Gritting her teeth, Amaris set to work, her hands aching as she melded her light weaving with brute force. She poured her doubts into the hammer's arc, each strike sparking with luminous threads. Hours blurred by. Her arms trembled, but her resolve grew with every blow. As the sun sank behind the forge roof, Kale inspected the shard. It glowed with an inner light, unbroken and steady. "Not bad for a dreamer," he muttered with reluctant approval. He placed a heavy copper key into her palm. "The Iron Guild's piece is yours, but beware. Sunskine's shadow falls near. They do not forgive." Amaris pocketed the key, something inside her swelling with hope. She turned to Corin, who grinned mischievously. "Onward, then. Sunskein won't wait." She realized suddenly she was learning. With grit and help, even the impossible could bend. And so, too, might fate. Twilight deepened as Amaris and Corin edged toward Sunskine territory, a place humming with vigilant energy and sharp suspicion. Guild banners hung between tall spires, their golden weave catching the dying sun, while robed figures strode purposefully through guarded gates. Amaris kept her hood low, heart pounding. "Sunskine's not like Silvershade or Iron Guild," Corin cautioned. "Their magic's all about control. They don't just weave, they command. Whatever you do, don't let them see your fear." Amaris squared her shoulders, feeling the weight of the copper key in her pocket and the Iron Guild's success hardening her courage. Passing a checkpoint, she flashed her Silvershade sigil and was waved forward, albeit with a suspicious glare. Inside the Sunskine Hall, gold and glass shimmered everywhere. In the heart of a radiant chamber, Master Jordell stood as if waiting for her, arms folded, lips curled in a knowing smirk. "The little night mouse returns. Thought you'd run after last night." Amaris ignored the taunt. "I'm here for the missing pattern. The guilds are all at risk, Jordell, Sunskine included. I have Silvershade's blessing, and Iron Guild's trust." Jordell's eyes narrowed. "We don't trade in trust, child. We command respect. Still, you've made it further than most. If you want Sunskine's peace, you'll have to play the light binding." Behind him, apprentices moved a crystal lattice onto a table. "3 tries," Jordell warned. "You must weave the raw beams through these, trapping the light but not breaking its flow. Fail, and the hall's magic will deny you forever." Corin whispered, "Let the threads guide you. Don't force them." Amaris steadied her hands, then began. The first beam fractured, shards scattering in a prismatic haze. Jordell's brow arched. Voices around the chamber swelled in thinly veiled laughter. Amaris exhaled, shut out their scorn, and tried again, imagining the tapestry's hidden pattern, light in harmony, bending but unbroken. This time, the beams wove through the lattice like river currents. The final pass brought the structure to life. Not a cage, but a flowing open weave that cast golden shapes on the ceiling. The hall stilled. Jordell studied her quietly, then placed a sun-shaped pendant in her hand. "You learn fast, too fast." His voice carried a warning beneath its grudging respect. The Sunskine's peace as promised, go before old grudges harden. Corin beamed with pride. Outside, the city's night wind felt like freedom. One more to go, the fox said softly. But Shadowglass plays by different rules. Amaris gripped the pendant, realizing that with each trial her resolve and skill had grown. Yet with every success the stakes climbed higher, and the shadows watching her deepened. Night deepened as Amaris and Corin slipped through silent streets where familiar city sounds gave way to whispers and flickers at the edge of her vision. Shadowglass territory was said to shift, never the same shape twice, a place for those who vanished between heartbeats. Are we seriously doing this? Amaris hissed as they ducked beneath a sagging archway, its stones gleaming with a faint violet sheen. Corin's whiskers twitched. There's no way around it. Shadowglass finds you. You don't find them. Keep your mind open and your courage close. As if in answer, the very air changed. Cold crept over her skin and the world dulled at the edges. The buildings pressed in, their details dissolving, until only pathways of shadow and faint glimmers remained. Suddenly, a tall woman stepped from a puddle of darkness. Her cloak rippled with stars, and her eyes were silver mirrors. "Welcome, Seeker," she intoned. "I am Lesra. We remember every secret, every gamble. What do you bring to prove you belong?" Amaris swallowed hard. She fumbled out the Iron Guild key and the Sunskane pendant, hands shaking. "I come for the fourth piece, the last pattern. Without it, Thalorn will fall." Lysra smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Many ask, few offer truth. Shadowglass guards not things, but stories. Share your greatest fear, speak it aloud, or leave as a stranger." Corin gave a gentle nudge. It was different from any trial before. No craft, just raw, shaking honesty. Amaris drew a breath and her voice shook. "My greatest fear is that I don't belong anywhere. That no matter how hard I weave or fight, I'll always be an outsider, never worthy." There was a long, dangerous silence. Lysra considered her with ancient eyes. "True enough. Shadowglass accepts the truth of the unseen. Take this and remember, secrets shaped the world long before light did." Lysra handed her a shard, its surface rippling with ghostly light, here, then gone. "Your tapestry will never be whole without shadows." The world snapped back, sounds and smells tumbling into place once more. Amaris stared at the final piece, her whole body trembling, relief, pride, and a new kind of ache. Corin smiled gently. "You faced what the others could not. You learned that light only matters by the shape of its darkness." With all four pieces trembling in her pack, Amaris gazed at the trembling dawn. Somehow she felt both more and less burdened than before. But the path ahead was clear. She must return to Silvershade and dare the locked tapestry, before the eclipse's shadow claimed them all. Amaris's feet scarcely touched the ground as she hurried back through waking Thalorn, Corin trotting close at her heels. The city stirred with rumors, whispers of rising guild tensions, talk of dark omens flickering above the spire, and everywhere she went, the hush of the coming eclipse seemed to press closer. Racing through Silvershade's doors, she reached the tapestry hall, its chamber bathed in the earliest gold. The oldest tapestry, the one that started it all, hung silent and waiting. As Amaris drew out the four fragments, their woven light and darkness pulsed in unison, drawn to the relic. Master Eldrin, the guild's aged leader, stepped from the shadows, staff in hand. "So you've returned, apprentice? With what?" She held out the fragments. "I've gathered the pieces from every guild, the code to unlock the pattern. If we don't act before the eclipse, Thalorn won't survive." Eldrin's gaze could have pierced iron. "How did you convince the others?" "I didn't," Amaris replied, voice steady. "I earned them. Shadows and light both." Corin watched, tail curled around his paws, as Eldrin gestured to the tapestry. "Then show us what you've learned, child. Let the four become one, and reveal if you are worthy." Amaris's hands shook, but she fit the pieces into the woven heart of the tapestry. With a deep breath, she called on every lesson. Ironguild's resilience, Sunskine's balance, Shadowglass's truth, and Silvershade's wonder wove together under her fingers. The ancient threads shimmered, then burst alive in a trail of blinding color. The pattern unlocked. Swirling beams and echoing shadows revealed a map, spreading out from Thalorn's heart, a path to healing or ruin. The tapestry trembled, magic surging through the room. Suddenly, the doors crashed open. Jordal, flanked by Sunskine enforcers, stormed in. "You've stolen from every guild? Amaris, step away. This power isn't meant for you." Amaris's heart twisted. If I step away, we lose it all. The land needs this change. Enforcers formed a ring, tension sharp as glass. Corin bristled, teeth bared. Stand or run, it's your gamble. Eldrin's voice rang out, let her finish. The tapestry's wild light pressed for a decision as the fate of the kingdom and her own stood balanced. Amaris braced herself, knowing every friend and every enemy watched. She could no longer hide or doubt. The true test had only just begun. The Guildhall was a storm about to break. Amaris stood her ground, hands pressed to the living tapestry, the pulse of old magic throbbing through her chest. Corin growled low, hackles raised as Sunskine enforcers closed the ring, light shimmer dancing from their armor. Jordel's eyes flickered with something sharper than anger, fear. You don't understand the forces you're meddling with, girl. Unweave it now. Amaris lifted her chin, voice strong. You're right, Master Jordel. I don't fully understand, but Thalorn's dying while all of you guard scraps and grudges. Eldrin raised his staff. Let her finish her trial, Jordel. We agreed. The eclipse changes everything. For a heartbeat, time held its breath. Jordel sneered. She risks unraveling the world for a dream. Or saving it, Corin shot back, tail lashing defiantly. You're just afraid of no longer being the one in control. The tapestry's glow climbed higher, tendrils of spectral color winding around Amaris's wrists. She closed her eyes, opening herself to all she'd learned and lost. The tapestry spoke, not with words but with images. Thalorn as it might be, healed and thriving, or broken by old pride. A fracture split the chamber floor. Magic lashed out. First at Amaris, testing her, then at the onlookers. Jordel staggered, shouting. Eldrin shielded with a flick of his staff. Enforcers faltered, caught in blinding webs of shifting light and darkness. Corin leapt beside her, lending courage. Remember the shadow. Let its truth balance the blaze. Amaris sank into the pattern's heart, pain and hope mingling. She wove a bridge between the four guilds' gifts, resilience, control, honesty, wonder. Her fears rose, but so did everything she'd gained. Self-worth, friendship, the right to stand and shape the world. The light storm faded. The tapestry stilled, yet its new pattern glimmered impossibly. Half map, half open story. All watched, silent, as she stepped back, gasping. The guild masters saw what she had done, joined their colors and darkness in one living hope, defiant of ancient divisions. But suspicion and awe churned in their eyes. Jordel broke the silence. It isn't finished. The eclipse is near. Magic's shape will change once more, and so might our fate. Eldrin nodded gravely. Your real gamble, Amaris, starts now. What you've unlocked must be defended. Amaris squared her shoulders, exhaustion and determination burning together from street to shadow, friend and foe. The final test was coming, one she could not face alone. The morning before the eclipse dawned blood-red, bathing Thalorn in uneasy light. Word of Amaris's feat at Silvershade had traveled fast, stoking the city's hopes and fears in equal measure. Guildfolk whispered, leaders argued, and the tapestry's new pattern shimmered over the whole hall with every rising breath. Amaris stood at the heart of it all, Corin perched on her shoulder. Eldrin and Jordel flanked her, their rivalry held tense by the fragile peace she'd brokered. Iron Guild's Kale and Shadowglass's Lysra had arrived too, drawn by necessity if not trust. All the guilds are here, Corin murmured, but unity's thinner than glass. Watch yourself. Lysra spoke first, her voice low. You've joined what was always meant to be whole, Amaris, yet many would see it unraveled again. Some fear change more than ruin. Kale crossed his arms. If the magic fails or turns wild at the eclipse, Thalorn could crack apart. Jordel glared. Or one guild seizes it all. We're not fools. Amaris met their eyes, her voice steady despite exhaustion. I can't promise safety, only possibility. The tapestry's power needs all our gifts and all our restraint. It can heal the land. Iffled shouting erupted outside. Sunskine enforcers and wild-eyed citizens forced their way in, driven by fear and uncertainty. Through the stained glass crowning the hall, the black slice of the eclipse edged closer. It's time, Eldrin said gravely. Amaris, if you accept the risk, stand by your work as the eclipse peaks. All our futures will depend on what you choose and who stands with you. Corin pressed closer, voice fierce and soft. I believe in you, Amaris. Win or lose, you've already changed more than you know. Heart pounding, Amaris took her place, the living tapestry blazing with every step. She called upon all she had learned and everyone who dared to follow. But beyond the guild leaders, faces in the crowd twisted with fear. Someone shouted, "Too much power for one girl." Hands pushed forward. Rumors of sabotage rippled, a plot to steal or destroy her work and return the city to bitter old ways. Jor-El and Kale squared off, iron-guiled tools clashing with sunscreen blades as old rivalries flared at the worst moment. Lizra wove a curtain of shadow to hold the worst panic at bay, but it would not hold. Corin whispered, "It all comes down to you now. Show them, Amaris. Show them that new magic is possible if hope outweighs fear." As the eclipse's darkness raced across the sky, the city converged on this one chance. Amaris closed her eyes and reached for the tapestry's heart, ready to stake everything, even herself, on the future she could finally see. The eclipse reached its total, plunging Thalorn into a twilight that made magic spark and shudder across the city. The tapestry in Amaris's hands pulsed with a hunger that demanded balance, a beloved song on the edge of discord. Cries and clangs echoed as rival guild members clashed near the hall, old hatreds boiling over, even as the city's fate trembled in Amaris's grasp. Corin braced against Amaris's leg, his usually bright eyes haunted by old secrets. "The power's wild, child," he warned gently. "Summon everything you are. Don't let them tear it apart." Jor-El lunged, voice sharp. "Sunscane endures. Stand aside, apprentice." His hand stretched toward the tapestry, a hungry, blinding weave of magic pulsing from his palm. But Kale blocked him. "This is bigger than you, Jor-El. Step back. We made a pact, not just with her, but with hope itself." Spells crashed, light and shadow locking the guildmasters in a standstill. In the chaos, scattered citizens heaved stones and shouted, "Let the old ways die! Don't trust the light!" The tapestry's woven heart shuddered under Amaris's grip, as if it sensed the kingdom's fraying resolve. She heard Lysra's voice swirl from a shadowed corner. "What you've made reflects what's inside you. If you weave in anger, you will unleash only ruin. If you weave in fear, you will bind yourself." Her hands trembled. Fear threatened to strangle her, of failing, of losing herself or Thalorn, or of wielding power she couldn't control. For a heartbeat, she nearly stepped back. Then Corin bumped her gently. "Don't cling to the past, Amaris. You're not alone. You never have been. The truth you spoke, that's your gift. Weave it." Drawing a deep breath, Amaris faced the rioting crowd and warring guilds. She called, voice shaking but fierce, "Look at what we've become. We guard secrets with violence and lose what makes us whole. Every guild brought a piece of this tapestry. If you tear it apart, we all fall." Magic built at her command, wild but not angry, woven light and deep shadow, memory and hope entwined. She held the fragments of every guild aloft for all to see. "This magic is not just for one of us. If I finish this weave, it's for all, or for none." The city stilled, hesitation trembling along ancient fault lines. Hands fell, weapons lowered, even Jor-El and Kale paused, faces twisted with conflict, old stories and new hope warring in their eyes. The tapestry brightened, threads filling in to reveal a final, untried pattern. But it was not done yet. Amaris wept, just for a moment, as she saw what needed to be asked next. The true healing of Thalorn demanded more than any power she alone could give. It demanded the will of its people. Corin nudged her, whispering, "Share the weaving. Ask them. Win their hearts. Or there will be nothing left to heal." And as the world held its breath, Amaris faced the city. Her greatest gamble was yet to be made. As the eclipse's darkness gripped Thalorn, Amaris stepped forward into the hush that finally stilled the Guildhall. The tapestry floated before her, shimmering with raw possibility, all the threads she'd gathered catching both the first flicker of hope and all the old wounds. She turned away from the guildmasters and toward the crowd at the doors, the guildfolk, the apprentices, the elders, and the children. "This weaving cannot finish until every voice touches it," she said, her words trembling but clear. "The magic belongs to all who have suffered, all who have dreamed. If you trust me, come, shape the light and shadow with your own hands." It started with silence. Then one bold child stepped forward, followed by an old ironworker, then a silent sunskine apprentice, and a shadow glass outcast. Amaris guided them, one by one, handing them glowing threads or ribbons of shadow cloud. Each person wove a hope, a fear, a wish, a memory into the tapestry's heart. Corin, watching, whispered, "This is what was missing. It was never just power. It was trust." The city's leaders, stunned, watched something bigger than ancient grudges, their people uniting. Even Jordel's stern mask cracked with awe. Kale's gruff voice softened. Lysra's eyes shone with tears she didn't hide. Eventually, all joined the weaving, including the guildmasters themselves. With each new touch, the tapestry's pattern deepened and clarified. It became not a map, but a living reflection, one that changed with every hope shared, every honest fear declared. Magic flared as the last hands found their place, and with it, the eclipse began to break. Sunlight seeping across the city in dazzling waves. A hush gripped Thalorn, softer than prayer. The tapestry pulsed a final time. Light and darkness balanced. A promise, not a curse. Amaris fell to her knees as the burden lifted, and the tapestry settled into gentle, steady glow. The city's broken streets shimmered with new green. Distant wounds in the land eased as healing spread, not just from the Guildhall, but from every hand that had dared to believe. Jordel helped Amaris to her feet. "You did what none of us could. We did it," she corrected, looking at Corin, at her friends, at everyone crowded into the hall. "Together." Corin nuzzled her with proud madness. "A gamble, well played. What will you do now?" Amaris squinted at the dawn, hope and exhaustion mingling. "Keep weaving, keep building. There's still so much to learn." In the end, Thalorn stood whole, a tapestry unfinished, meant for every hand. And Amaris, no longer just an apprentice but a Lightweaver remade, found her place not by power but by giving it away. As the sun blazed anew across the city and the land thrummed with new promise, Amaris smiled, knowing that the greatest magic was the kind shared by all.